For this lesson, we're going to discuss what a consequence really is. In the next couple lessons, we'll cover the what, the why, and the how. And you need to understand the what because there is a lot of different interpretation out there of what a consequence really is. So we wanted to dive into the definitions of consequences versus punishment. I mentioned in our last video that 100 years ago, or even more than that, we used to punish our kids for negative choices and use that punishment to deter them from wanting to make that kind of choice again. I mentioned things like whipping a child or slapping a child or putting them in a corner with the dunce cap on in school or making them write lines or more recently, we've got the timeouts and things like that, or grounding. And punishment is really to inflict a penalty on a child for a choice that they've made, or take vengeance for a hurt that they've caused you. You're going to sting them back, or cause pain for some sort of offense. Now, we used to believe that punishment was the way to get our kids to change. And yes, we do see some short-term changes in our children's behavior when we use punishment. We run Facebook ads to get people some awareness of Parent with a Pro and what we have to offer. And what's shocking to me is to see how many people will say, just slap the child, make them fly across the floor, just beat that out of them. That there's a lot of physical punishment still being used, or there's still a lot of grounding or really trying to just make the child miserable as a result of making negative choices. And a lot of these parents are saying these things because they are seeing results, that the child is respectful and not back-talking or being sassy. But what they see long-term is that the child does not develop as healthy or as well as other kids do. Now, there is a way to see an improvement in behavior without having to use punitive measures, and a way to help them really learn, and that is through consequences. So a consequence, if you look at the Greek root of the word, it means the logical inference or conclusion, the result, or to follow after. So what we want to really drive home, the message that we want to share, is that consequences are the logical things that follow after certain choices. So if I lie, the logical conclusion is that people won't trust me. And so a good consequence for a child lying is for them to lose the privilege of anything that requires trust, because you genuinely don't trust them. And we feel that this teaches kids a lot better what their choices actually do in real life. Consequences should teach the natural outcome of a choice. So the cause and the effect. If I lie, people don't trust me. If I damage property, I am responsible for replacing that property. If I am disrespectful, people won't want to be around me and it will hurt my relationships. So over and over again, cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. And what happens is it starts to connect some dots in our children's brains. We want these dots connected. So if you were new to a dot to dot and you were handed a dot to dot picture that goes up to the number 1000, and somebody said, "What is this picture?" you may be a little bit confused. You may look at it and say, I really don't know what the picture is, and I can't tell. And if somebody sat down and showed you, well, if you start at number 1 and you connect that to number 2, and then you connect that to number 3, and showed them how to do the dot to dot, and then allowed them to start connecting the dots, after a while, they would be able to tell you what the image was. We think that being an adult is like a complex dot to dot. I don't know if you feel like you've mastered adulthood, but I know that I am way far from it. There's the complexity of emotions and work-life balance and interpersonal relationships and personal decisions and the outcomes of those decisions, finances. There are so many variables and so much complexity to it. And it is not easy to navigate adult life and how to be a happy, healthy, responsible individual. So that is the way it is for our kids too. They are trying to navigate how to be a happy, healthy individual who is respectful and responsible. And it is like an incredibly complex dot to dot picture. And they just do not get what it takes to be happy, healthy, respectful, and responsible unless they are given opportunities to start connecting dots. Consequences allow for this to happen. They teach the cause and the effect over and over again so they start to connect the dots. We feel this is more effective than you made a sad choice, now you sit on timeout. You made a sad choice, now you give us the keys to your car. And there are times where those are the logical consequences and the natural consequences of kids' choices. But we really want them to start to see, how will this choice affect my life long term? Now, another brain wiring and chemistry lesson for you. This really does work. The way that our brains work is that we develop new neurons when we have new experiences. And then the more and more we use those neurons, the easier it becomes to use those. So this is what's going to happen when you start using natural consequences, is that the first time you do it, it's going to create a new neuron in your child's brain. And then the more frequently you do it, the more neurons it's going to create and the stronger those neurons are going to be. And the better that they're going to understand that every time I lie, I lose trust. And so if I want trust, I need to be honest. Every time I am disrespectful, it hurts relationship and people don't want to be around me. So this tells me that if I want people to be around me, I need to be respectful. Now, another reason why consequences are so important is that the owner of the choice, or the owner of the consequence, or the owner of the choice needs to be the owner of the consequence. So this goes back to brain wiring and chemistry again. We all crave comfort, and our brain will avoid things that bring discomfort into our lives. This is why none of us are putting our hands on hot burners anymore, because we had one experience putting our hand on a hot burner and we pulled our hand away knowing that that was not comfortable. Our brain is self-protective that way. And so when we allow the owner of the choice, so if our child makes a choice, to be the owner of the natural outcome of that, and if it is an uncomfortable outcome, then your child's brain is going to start to say, that was uncomfortable and I really want to avoid that in the future. And so this is a really important thing about consequences too. Something that you have to understand about the what behind consequences is not only is it a logical outcome of people's choices, but those who make the choice need to be the ones that experience the outcome of the choice. Now, in our work with parents, sometimes they are nervous to give consequences to kids. They're afraid that the discomfort of the consequence is going to hurt their child in some way. They've been told that through popular trends with parenting right now, or it's just something that they feel because they are by nature more permissive as a parent, just a little bit softer. We really want to emphasize that this is going to empower your kids. The sooner that they can realize that the quality of their life is dependent on the quality of their choices, the sooner they get at the helm of their own ship or the wheel of their own car and they realize, I am not a victim of life. I am not a victim of my circumstances. I am a powerful, capable individual who can make choices that lead to certain outcomes because they've experienced the cause and effect so many times they can connect the dots about what it takes to be a great person in a relationship, to be happy, to be healthy, to be respectful, to be responsible. These kids are going to have better jobs, better relationships, better grades. They're going to be more respectful, more responsible, have healthier mental health, and have a better self-esteem. There are 50 years of research proving that this is true, that having limits with logical consequences, all done with love, leads to these outcomes. So we want you to be confident in moving forward with the things that we are going to teach you. That consequences are going to be some of the best teachers for your kids and really empower them for life.